Hello, my name is Apurva Bansali and I am the CEO and CTO of Softex Incorporated. I'm here today to demonstrate to you our newest security solution, SecureDrive. SecureDrive is a comprehensive data protection solution that is based on industry standards. Just to give you a little bit of background, in today's world, your enterprise has to comply with many new rules and regulations around data compromise and breach. An enterprise that is not proactive in securing itself faces strong fines and potential high-profile public disclosure embarrassments that can result in huge financial losses. Protecting corporate data with strong encryption on the hard drive mitigates this risk and is a top priority for an organization today. Hard drive vendors are now building self-encrypting drives as an alternative to traditional software-based encryption. These self-encrypting drives are based on a new industry standard specification called Opal. The Opal specification has been defined by the Trusted Computing Group, also known as the TCG. And this is a conglomeration of major PC OEMs, hardware, and software vendors. The Opal specification adds security to hard drives and eliminates data breaches from lost or stolen PCs by ensuring that every byte of data on the hard drive is encrypted using the hard drive's own internal electronics. This makes the encryption much faster, much more secure as compared to traditional software-based hard disk encryption, and it does it at a much lower cost. To use Opal drives, enterprises just need an application to configure and manage the self-encrypting drives. The Softex SecureDrive product allows IT administrators to use their existing Microsoft Active Directory or Novell eDirectory infrastructure to deploy and configure and manage systems in the enterprise that have Opal encryption built in. So now let me first set the stage for my demo. On my right, we have an Active Directory server that is running Microsoft Windows 2003 and also has our SecureDrive management console installed, which we will use to show how the Opal drives can be deployed, configured, and managed. On my left is a standalone client PC running Windows 7, and it has an Opal hard drive built into it. So the first thing that I want to do is to show you how Opal hard drive encryption on the client PC can be enabled and configured so a user can be authorized to unlock the PC. We will first bring up the Active Directory users and computers on the screen. This is the standard Microsoft Management Console, which shows all of organizational units inside of the domain and users inside of those organizational units. So for example, we have a demo domain here called securedrive.org, which has multiple organizational units in it, like the Oval Office, the press office, staff members, and so on. And if I click on the Oval Office, you will see multiple users in the Active Directory, including Barack Obama and George Bush. Now let's go ahead and bring up the SecureDrive Management Console. As you can see, the SecureDrive Management Console closely mimics the Active Directory Management Console. If I expand, I will see the domain, and if I expand again, I'll see the organizational units inside the domain. I can click on the OU. For example, if I click on the Oval Office OU, I will see the users and machines, and if I click on users, I see users that are in the Active Directory that are also set up as users who will be authorized to unlock the PC using our SecureDrive product. Now, if I go to the client PC, in this case the name of the client PC is Softex SD, I click on that and I go to the Settings tab. There is a SecureDrive option which I can double click to manage the security on the Opal drives. Now at this point you see this dialog box, and the dialog box shows the hard drives that are in the system, and it shows that the hard drive in the system is an Opal hard drive. However, it is in the inactive state, and that's because we have not yet configured or enabled the Opal security or the encryption security on the Opal hard drive on the client PC. To do that, all we will need to do is to enroll the user into the system and authorize that user to unlock the drive. So we'll go ahead and do that and we will first authorize George Bush by entering his Windows username and password, since SecureDrive automatically syncs with the user's Windows username and password. Now, once I do that, you see that the enrollment is now in a pending state. Now, during this process, let me explain what's going on. The client PC will actively ping the server and see if there has been any change made in its configuration. The change that it will detect is the change that was made to enable George Bush on the Opal security of the hard drive, and that George Bush is now authorized to unlock that PC. This process is completely transparent to the end user on the client PC, and all happens in the background while that computer is running. So that way, end users have to take no action to enable or configure the Opal security on their PC. And more importantly, the IT administrator does not need to actually come and physically touch the machine to configure any of the security settings. So if we come back now to the screen, you can see that the enrollment has completed and George Bush is now authorized to unlock this PC. So now what we will do is we'll take a second and we will turn our attention to the client PC. As you can see, the client PC is already shut off, and I'm just going to go and power it on at this point. Once I power on the PC, it'll go through the standard BIOS booting process, and then it will come to a new screen, which is a screen from SecureDrive asking the user to provide his Windows username and password to unlock the PC. Now let me take a second here and just explain what is going on. Since every byte on the hard drive has now been encrypted by the Opal security, the operating system and all the data on the hard drive are no longer accessible unless an authorized user provides his password to unlock the computer. In fact, SecureDrive will redirect the boot up of the computer into what we call a secure pre-boot authentication, or PBA, environment. This is a Linux-based environment that will now prompt the user to provide the Windows credentials, and only if those credentials are provided correctly will the Opal security be unlocked and the original operating system will be booted and available to the end user. So in this case, now I'm going to go ahead and type in George Bush's Windows username and password, since SecureDrive has synced up the user's Opal credentials to be the same as the Windows username and password. I type in gbush as the username, SecureDrive as the domain, and I enter his password. And now you can see, once it is completed, the system automatically unlocks the Opal security and starts booting the original Windows-based operating system that's on the PC. Now, as the PC is booting up, SecureDrive will also use that credential that was just typed into the computer to single sign-on, or otherwise known as SSO, all the way to the desktop. This is a process whereby the user does not have to type in his username and password again at the Windows logon screen, thus making the logon process more convenient and secure for the end user. And as you can see, we are now booted into the desktop of the client PC, and the user's data is accessible and he is ready to use his computer in a secure manner. Let's now talk about some of the more advanced features provided by the SecureDrive Management Console. One other thing that is quite common in an organization is that an employee will leave the organization and a new employee will join the organization to take his place. And the laptop will be reused from the old user to the new user. So one other thing that the SecureDrive MMC does is to provide a very seamless mechanism so that additional users can be authorized to unlock the computer, and users that are already authorized to unlock the computer can be removed off the authorization list. So let's go back to our server and look at our management console again. As you can see, we still have George Bush enrolled as an authorized user on this PC. Well, we will go ahead now and enroll Barack Obama, as he is the new authorized user on this computer. Again, this process happens completely in the background on the client PC and is seamless to the end user. The client PC will poll the server and find out that there has been a change in the authorization information, and it will authorize the new user into the system. This process can take anywhere from a few minutes to a few hours depending on the network environment of the enterprise. Now that Barack Obama has been added and he is now in the enrolled state, we can remove George Bush, who is no longer an authorized user to use this PC. Once again, this process may take a few minutes as the client PC pulls the authorization change from the server and applies it to the local client. So now we're all set, and you can see that George Bush has been removed and Barack Obama has become the new authorized user on this PC. Of course, if there were multiple users in the organization that needed to be authorized, this could be done as well. So let's turn our attention back to the client PC and see what effect this has had on that computer. So if I power on the client PC again, it will boot into our SecureDrive pre-boot authorization environment after the standard BIOS setup. So now let's first try the old user, George Bush. Again, I will type in the username, gbush. The domain is SecureDrive. And the password for the user. And you can see here that this user, George Bush, is no longer authorized to unlock the computer as he was before. Now let's go ahead and type in the correct username. And that would be Obama. Same domain. And type in the correct password. And now you can see the computer has unlocked and will automatically boot up and proceed to boot the original Windows operating system and SSO into the Windows desktop of the new user, Barack Obama. Of course, these days, lots of organizations require stronger authentication than just the Windows username and password. In the event that your organization requires stronger security, SecureDrive provides the ability to use multi-factor authentication, including fingerprint, smart cards, or passwords to unlock the Opal security and log into the PC. Of course, one of the downsides of multi-factor authentication is that if the fingerprint reader stops working or the user loses or forgets his smart card, then the user may not be able to log on to the PC. This can be an especially big problem if the user is traveling and has no backup mechanism to log into the PC. That's why SecureDrive provides an emergency logon capability as well. In the event that the user can't log into his PC, the emergency logon capability will prompt the user to provide answers to a set of secret questions that he has pre-enrolled, or enter a response code that has been generated by the IT help desk based on a challenge phrase he provided as an override login to the PC. This now completes the process of deauthorizing a user and authorizing a new user to unlock the Opal hard drive on the PC. As you can see, we are booted into the desktop for Barack Obama.